Well, I'm Fred Tausch, a businessman from Nashua, New Hampshire, and I've started an organization called stewardofprosperity.com, which advocates for fiscal discipline in Washington. And as part of our efforts, we have commissioned an economic study which looks at the new stimulus bill, and it analyzes some of the good things that it's doing for New Hampshire, and some of the things that it's doing that aren't so good. So Brian is here to talk about the study that he's done.
Thank you, Fred. Trying to understand the stimulus on the basis of the 300 individual program expenditures that are in it is something like trying to understand the true meaning of Christmas by looking at all the presents that we receive. We need something more that puts it into context, and I think that that's what this effort really does. It provides some structure, background about the stimulus, what it hopes to accomplish, some of the economic rationale involved in it, and I would really encourage you as reporters to take the time to read through it, because I think what you'll see is that it's serious, it's balanced, it's unbiased. It's the starting point for discussing critical issues about the long-term implications of the stimulus. I don't think we've had that discussion yet. We haven't had the ability to do it, primarily because largely policymakers and New Hampshire citizens don't really have a grasp of the stimulus. They understand, they hear that there's these large pots of money, but fundamentally they need a broader perspective, and I think that that's what this report does. In terms of some of the specifics about it, you have an executive summary in front of you, but I would encourage you to read the entire report. We estimate as of now about $1.5 billion coming to New Hampshire, both in terms of spending and individual and business tax breaks. In our report, we break down that to provide some structure in terms of what that might mean in stimulus value. We break out those expenditures into categories: those that are likely to have some job creation impact, those that simply supplant state spending, replace state money. And by the way, that is about the largest segment of the money that's coming our way. Two areas of state government that are going to receive the most money are education funding, public education, Medicaid, and those monies will simply go to replace the monies, allow the state to avoid having to pay using its own tax dollars, and will have very little stimulus impact. Some of the other things that I think are important in the study, taking a look at the individual tax cuts in the bill, we estimate that over a 3-year period, the tax cuts in the bill will add only about $100 million more than the 2008 stimulus rebate checks the prior administration and Congress enacted. So from that perspective, over a 3-year period, it may even actually have less of a stimulative value than the last round of stimulus in 2008. And with that, I guess we'll take questions, unless Fred has something else to say.
No, I think that's it.
Well, I guess one thing I'll take the time to actually read this thing later, but when the stimulus was announced, there were numbers about job creation in New Hampshire.
Right.
I think it was 15 or 17,000 jobs created.
Yeah, we cite a couple of studies in there. There's two, I think probably the best known are one that was done by the administration officials, Jared Bernstein and Christina Romer, which estimates about 16,000. Now, they started out by saying 16,000 jobs would be created, and then they kind of moved to created or saved. And I think we're clear in this report that the money that comes to the state and replaces state dollars has certainly the potential for saving state and local jobs. It'll keep, but in terms of stimulus value and actually creating jobs. So I think the spin has been a little different lately. It's no longer 16,000 jobs created, it's 16,000 jobs saved. We're very clear, and you'll see this, Josh, when you read the report, that we think that there are real stimulus values in this. The infrastructure spending, we put some numbers on that in terms of the jobs that we think will be created over the 3-year period. Tax cuts will have some stimulative effect. There are a number of expenditures that will. What we didn't do is to give an overall number. And we didn't because there's still a lot of unknowns in terms of how this money will be spent. We don't even know yet. I mean, we've identified most of it, but there are grant-funded programs that are competitive that we just really don't know. Some agencies have yet to issue allocation tables, so we don't know. It's going to create some jobs. There is no doubt about that. It's going to save jobs. We're not, I don't think, critical from that perspective. There are, I think, longer-term fundamental issues about what the implications might be of the package. New Hampshire.
I guess not to be brought up, but Fred, was there a different? Obviously we'll see how this thing pans out. But was there a different sort of stimulus bill or rescue package or something that you think ought to be done instead of what is being done?
Well, I think what we really want to do. This was done very, very quickly without a lot of debate, and I think that the goal, and I think it's an ongoing. It's not just one bill. There's a dramatic increase in federal spending that we should all be thinking about. So the goal here is really to provide information to citizens so that they can, to all of us, so that we can make more informed decisions about what sort of government involvement we want. A couple of things that come out of the study that I thought weren't so good are, one, per person. New Hampshire is receiving less money than any state in New England. So we don't get very much of the stimulus money per person, and the second thing is that the majority of the money in the stimulus bill really doesn't even pretend to be stimulative. So I think we could do a better job, and I think the first step is to start providing information to people, to citizens, so that we can make more informed decisions.
So, as somebody, there's stress that you're essentially disgruntled Obama supporter. How much of this is? You feel you were sold a bill of goods, basically? What's the deal there?
My perspective is I was very disappointed with record deficit spending during the Bush years, and I thought that was a known quantity. So I thought that I hoped that we would have some more responsible decision making in Washington, and I don't think that's the case. When I see what's coming out right in the beginning of this administration, I think it's totally irresponsible, and it makes me fearful for the economic health of the country, and that's what's really drawn me into this.
And so what's next for Steward of Prosperity? You've issued this report. Where do you go from here?
Well, we'll continue to update. Brian will continue to update this report on a monthly basis because this is an evolving situation. We want to see is the stimulus and is the spending is it performing as advertised? So we need to keep the research going so that we can stay informed as to whether things are working the way they're supposed to. The other thing that I'm excited about is Steward of Prosperity will have qualitative reports. So we have freelance writers that are reporting on what's going on with business and with the economy in New Hampshire to provide some qualitative information as to how the federal spending is working and how the economy is going. So that's our focus.
And so all the funding for this is your own. You're the only person putting money.
This is something I'm doing because I feel very strongly that my opinion is that we're putting the country at risk. I think that we risk economic collapse and ruin, and I don't want to let that happen without doing something. As a business person, as a citizen, I don't want to watch that happen without feeling like I've at least tried to do something. And I think the thing that seems most useful to me is to try to provide information to people, unbiased information to people. I don't think this is an ideological struggle. I think there's some very, very complicated. The information is complicated. The decisions are very complicated. And I think the best thing that we can do is just provide citizens with information so that they can make informed decisions.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks.